I know, guys, I know. I was thinking the same exact thing. I open up the patch and, yeah, Ice Frog. It's official, he doesn't like Veno Jungle. I don't get what's wrong with him, why he thinks this is funny, but we're going to keep pushing on. We're going to make it the meta regardless of if he tries to shut down our neutrals, because even though basic neutrals now give 5% less XP, we're just going to figure out how to make Veno Jungle 5% more efficient to counter that out. So don't worry, I know you're panicking like me. But for real, we're going to be going over 7.22H. In this update, I'm going to be giving you the general idea, everything you need to know about this patch, what it changes, what heroes are going to be popular-ish or not, and, you know, even what items, not that there's many items that got changed, but what items you should be thinking about. So first off, I did mention the basic neutrals. Basically, jungling is a bit worse, that's all you need to know. And I don't mean jungling, I just mean like straight up jungling throughout the game, you know. It's just worse. Apparently they don't like armor items, where Phase Boots has gotten nerfed again. It was 6 a few patches ago, now it is 4. Medallion is 6, now 5. Solar Crest 10, now 8. And this is crazy because all these were much higher. Medallion was 7, Solar Crest was 12, now it's 8. Oof. It's brutal. Like, I mean, I still think these items are good, to be frank. But you can see how people were missing out on buying these items previous. They were super value. And same thing with Phase Boots, but Phase Boots were incredibly popular, and Medallion had come to fruition recently as a popular item. Ring of Protection can no longer be bought at the side shop, so, you know, you just gotta think about that when incorporating it into your builds. Okay, maybe I don't go Ring of Protection in this game if I'm a Tidehunter, Doom, etc. All these heroes that wanted armor, Pudge, Rip Pudge. Next up is Kunkka. So the important thing to note about Kunkka was what made him strong in a lot of situations was his ability to have a very strong laning stage and keep the tempo up consistently, and that's the key word, consistently. His cooldowns were brutally low. Once he maxed out X, it was an 8-second cooldown, and you could just over and over again X people, and you know the duration's like, what, 4 seconds? Right? So if it's 4 seconds and the cooldown's 8, it's a 50% uptime on enemy heroes. It's crazy, but now it's 10 at max level, which is important to note. It's also 34 at level 1, so it scales down, making it worse at every level. But the most important one is when it's maxed out, because you would try to get this maxed out ASAP after your Tidebringer. But now that's not as much of a possibility. Odds are, Kunkkas are going to still max X, because it's still that good of an ability. 10 seconds is not abysmal, but it does make a big difference considering the uptime has reduced from 50%, right? And 50% is a super high number, right? Where, you know, anything below that, or even if it's 10, 15% below that is a big difference. And then Ghost Ship cooldown was also reduced by 10 at each level, which is once again a big deal. It really is, because you're looking to keep up high tempo throughout the game on Kunkka, and 10 seconds could be the difference of a big kill or not. It totally can come into play. Next up, we have a key meta hero, Mirana, and Mirana was just crazy in lane, right? The ability to trade with Leap because it gave you 60 attack speed at level 1 and just stun people for 5 seconds was pretty nuts. So now, instead of it being 60 attack speed at level 1, it is all the way down to 25. That is insane. All the way down to 25, but it was kind of needed. Her laning stage was just brutally good. It felt very hard to trade. If you got arrowed, you were essentially dead, so this makes her laning and potency a lot worse. Very reasonable to me. And next up is projectile arrow speed, so you throw it at a slower pace, meaning it travels a bit slower, only 50 slower, but I'm curious how many people are going to miss arrows because of this. It'll be quite comical. Next up is Night Stalker. Now we knew this was coming. I mean, come on. Night Stalker he's been... Ugh, yuck. I mean, that's all I have to say. But first off, Hunter in the Night, 10 less attack speed at all levels, which not the end of the world for him considering you would max this a lot of games, so not terrible. Crippling Fear duration, reduced by 1 at each level as well, so kind of just trying to tone him down a bit. Ice Frog's trying not to kill Night Stalker, but just to tone him down, which I think is the right approach in my opinion. Yes, this hero is insane, but doesn't necessarily deserve to be kicked out of the meta. Yes, of course. I mean, I hope he does soon. This hero's obnoxious. I'm kidding. It's actually awful. But also your talents got reduced. So from 50 damage to 40 and 140 Hunter in the Night to 110 at level 25. But as far as I'm concerned, or what I've heard recently, is that people take the 40-second Dark Ascension cooldown anyway. So does this matter? My take is that Night Stalker is still very good, so don't give up on him yet. Next up on the list is Tiny. Right, so Tiny as a roamer was still potent. Now his win rate in all brackets was below 50% last time I checked. So why is he getting nerfed? I think it's because in the pro scene and when people know the capabilities of this hero, it's still unbelievably good in the laning stage. Being able to toss people under tower at level 1 is just unmatched by a lot of heroes, the DPS that you get from that. So these nerfs are huge. I mean, obviously, it's a 6-second increase at level 1 for toss, meaning that any sort of support tiny is just far worse right now. It's far, far worse. That cooldown is a big deal, and your solo kill potential in the laning stage as a core has also drastically decreased because you could get 2 tosses off, right? If you toss your mid-laning partner or enemy into the tower, you could actually get a second one off because of how long Avalanche also lasts for, but now that is definitely not the case at level 1. So yeah, roaming tiny a lot worse because also avalanche damage decreased from 90 to 75 at level 1, and then, it scales up. So core tiny is probably about the same. Obviously, as I mentioned, its laning stage is a bit worse, but support tiny needs a lot of levels. So do you max toss or do you max avalanche? Now, I still think you have to max avalanche, but that's pretty brutal then to have toss at 17 seconds. So pretty big nerfs. Honestly, I don't think tiny deserved this in my personal opinion, but it's not up to me. And finally, we have Windranger. Windranger at level 10 has gotten a 3 mana regen down to 2. Was this hero even that good? Am I missing something? I mean, when I think of top heroes of recent, Windranger did not come to mind. Maybe IceFrog sees something I don't. Maybe you guys see something I don't. And I'd love to hear that down in the description below, because I honestly have no idea why Windranger is getting nerfed. Maybe I'm crazy, but okay. My take is that she's probably a very good pub hero that I haven't seen, like in terms of low MMR pubs that was destroying people. So this is kind of to put that off a bit, and yeah. So really what I want to now finish up this video with to provide a bit more value is what should you consider. This isn't a big patch by any means, but it's an important one because it's the top meta heroes, or a lot of top meta heroes, getting nerfed. What I will say is that I still think phase boots is value. So you might be questioning the item now, okay, do we not go phase boots? It's getting nerfed and nerfed. Do we not go medallion? Do we not go solar crest? And how I would look at this is if you're buying Solar Crest for the purpose of buffing a carry to siege high ground, it still has the value of the 80 attack speed and the 8 armor, right? 8 armor is still good, movement speed is still good, and 80 attack speed is still ridiculous, right? You still have all these benefits, which is fantastic, right? It's still fantastic. So if you're sieging high ground, let's say you have a Lifestealer in your team, or a Jug, or a TB, I still think you purchase this item in a lot of games. In fact, if you're manning up against a Sven, or a CK, or a Spectre, right? Solar Crest, its attack speed is still unbelievably good. I think that's a very underrated part of this item. I constantly play Nature's Prophet, and I love buying Solar Crest on him because you can man up against heroes you usually wouldn't be able to, such as Bounty Hunter, or all the carries I just previously mentioned. So yeah, I think this item is still valuable for those different situations against those hyper carries, such as Medusa as well, and when you're trying to siege high ground. It's obviously a lot worse, but, it was super, super good. Probably the best item in the game, if not up there. In terms of Kunkka, yes, I do think this hero is still potent. Your laning stage is still very reliable to the point where how could you just kick this hero out of the meta? You still have a 70-second cooldown, basically free kill, because that's kind of what boat is in a lot of situations. If you get an X off and you boat Tiebreaker, you're going to get 2 Tiebringers off, which is near guaranteed to kill on the majority of heroes in the early game. So, Kunkka still has that going for him. 10 seconds is bad, right? It hurts him quite a bit, but I don't think enough to take away what was core about this hero, which is, okay, you could kind of lose lane, but even if you do, you just Tidebringer back in the jungle, and if you win your lane, you just go from side lane to side lane, and you shove out waves, you shove out the jungles, you gank whoever you want, and he still plays very fast. So don't give up on Kunkka. I think this hero is pretty legit. In terms of Mirana, now more than ever, you have to make sure you're pairing her with one of those setup heroes, such as SD or the Kunkka, an Oracle, any other setup stun. Because, now your right click, this main benefit of being able to just expend a leap charge and hit someone 18 times in a row for no reason is not there. But you have to consider Mirana still makes everyone invisible with 15% movement speed. Mirana still can nuke out waves and have insane solo kill potential, right? She still can do 900 magical damage or whatever it is to one hero. So that still exists, right? You don't completely lose that. So as long as you have the setup, I think tri-lanes are still just as potent. If you get 2 points in leap early now, it kind of offsets the nerfs a little bit. Obviously not a ton, but a little bit. So maybe this is incentivizing core Mirana because it doesn't crush core Mirana to the largest extent because you do put a lot more points in leap, but obviously it's still not the best even for core Mirana. And in terms of Night Stalker, I kind of mentioned what I said earlier. Yes, is he still good in the offlane? What I recommend is you look for him in the games where you would want to max out Hunter in the night. There are a lot of players who do this, and I think as long as you max it out still, it's going to have insane viability. You're still going to crush the nighttime, and Crippling Fear is still a 7-second AoE silence. I mean, 7 seconds is so long. It's so long. I don't know why it's that long, but it's still so long. And you can't underestimate this hero's flying vision. Honestly, I thought they would kind of reduce that maybe a bit, because if you turn on your ultimate, you just are very hard to kill because you kite in the trees. And then 2, you just see everything. You see everything. So you can't just discredit that. I think people kind of underlook this hero as well. I believe a lot of people had the question, and me as well, like, why was Night Stalker not picked more TI? And honestly, I think he could have been, just in the pro scene. It's a bit harder to work in because there's periods in time in the game where you just do very little, especially in the daytime, right? When Void was no damage, you did even less. So it was hard to work him in, so, and that makes sense, right? But in pubs, people were definitely overlooking Night Stalker. For a while, he's been a pub dominator due to the fact that he hits such hard timings and scales quite well. And for Tiny, yeah, I think you just want to play this hero more as a core, because if you get early levels, which you will, right, you can still max out your avalanche and your toss, and then you're back to normal. So I'm going to say a lot less support Tiny will be viable now, more like mid and offlane Tiny is my take, probably mid. What I'm seeing here is definitely like 80%-ish mid, because you really need more points in toss so that the cooldown is just not abysmally bad, and 17 seconds is really, really bad, because there's a low chance you'll get 2 off on the same hero at least, and you know, you still need to max out avalanche. You can't just leave it at 1 point and be like, yeah, that's okay, I'll just leave it at 1 point and max toss, because no, then your avalanche is going to deal, what, 75 times 3, 225, which is unbelievably underwhelming for a hero that completely relies on bursting people to kill them. I mean, sometimes mispositioning, but yeah, that's my take. And finally, for Windranger, you know, I don't know. Like, I honestly don't know why this happened. Oh yeah, and keep picking Veno Jungle, guys. Spread the plague. Spread the plague. Hashtag spread the plague in the chat. If you've been doing it, and you're part of the fan club, hashtag spread the plague in the comment section down below. Let's get it.
Peace. Are you tired of being hard stuck at your rank? Over at gameleap.com, we have a library of hundreds of guides authored by pro players and coaches covering literally every aspect of Dota. Whether you're looking to master a new hero or role, or just polish up your existing skills, GameLeap is the proven place for competitive gamers to hone their craft and unlock their secret potential. Hit the link on screen right now, to take advantage of our special offer for a 25% discount, guys, 25%, and start your journey today.